Hello and welcome back to another episode of Mac Trains, and today we are looking at updates and new products in TT120, particularly from Hornby. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoy the episode. Now, before we get into the new stuff from Hornby, I did run a small competition recently, and I was looking for the best name for your station or your layout, and I had plenty of entrants. Thank you for those who did put forward suggestions, and I offered to print off a few of these for the winner. And so Crunchlinton, we have managed to fit it on. I've stretched out the name board slightly, but there you are. Yours are there. If you would use the channel email address, which you can find in the channel description, if you drop me an email, I can get your address, and these will be on their way to you shortly. And because there were a few, I found it hard to choose. I'm not very decisive in these things, but I also felt I had to give a shout out to Dunsod Hall. It also amused me, that sort of play on words, that maybe not getting as much done as you thought you were going to achieve. So well done, Dunsod Hall. That also gets, you get a runner-up prize, and there's a runner-up one also because the second one didn't print quite perfectly. So there you are. That's your runner-up prize. So likewise, if you drop me an email, use the channel email address in the description, I'll get these sent off for you. Now that's the main stuff today. We have had today a new posting from Hornby directly on their train terminal blog. If you haven't already, go and have a look at it yourself. There's first of all quite a bit of detail about some rolling stock that's already been released, the hoppers and the 21 tons. But then there's information that catches our eye about upcoming products, and particularly the Class 37s. Feast your eyes. Here we have the image that Hornby released. Count them. 9 variations. 9. Now, I haven't a clue what the various 9 variations are. I don't know enough about the prototypes to be able to comment, but I can see the work that's been done to create these variations. I can see something of what's present and what's absent from one to the other. It's a little bit like when a child, you enjoy doing spot the difference. Well, let's spot the difference here a little bit, and let's see if we can indeed just get a little bit closer and see how we do here. So we've got, first up, we've got a split head code. That much I can tell. There's also in that first one what looks like separately fitted wired handrails in the red that are absent on the next one up. The centered head code. Then you've got what appears to be, again, a variation here. We've got in the green, almost hesitate to say doors, but at the front of it, I don't know how that works, or would have worked on the prototype, but that's been modelled. And again, if we just keep moving up, you can see all these varieties. These other options laterally coming in seem to have sort of valances, snow ploughs at the front. I'm not exactly sure either. But there are 9 variations available to us. Or that's not going to be all available in one go. Of course it's not. But they've done the work for 9 variations. And we'd certainly like to think that at some point we would have the opportunity of purchasing a fair number of these. You'll also notice some of them have air horns on top. Some of them have platings over exhaust ports, exhaust vents, I'm assuming. There's a lot of work gone into these, and I'm assuming also you can see at the far end of the locos, there's sort of color coding almost as the cabs. The light lilac, there's the white, there's the light green, there's the aqua, there's this again back to lilac, there's a pink sort of up here. Is that further variations? I assume that is also some variety that's been brought in. So they have done a huge amount of work, and this is now signed off CAD and is now entering the tooling stage. So this project is moving forward and moving forward quickly. I think they'll want these 37s to hit the market and to have a similar impact to the Class 50s that were superb models and still are superb models and were very well received. So that is brilliant. Here you can see another image that they released. Again, this on the train terminal blog, hornby.com. If you haven't, go and have a look for yourself. And you can see here the work has been done on the bogies. You can see here some of the underframe, and you can also get a glimpse into the cabs, which is always something we like to do. If we move across here, if we go to panning, you can see there's obviously some cab detail that's coming through there, and we certainly are looking forward to getting better acquainted with these superb machines. 37 is a close place in my own heart. It was probably my first, I think it was my first proper loco. And it derailed all the time because of my terrible track lane and ridiculous radius curves I tried to get the poor thing to negotiate. But I didn't care. It was a fantastic loco even then, and I did love it. You can see also they've done a really phenomenal amount of detail on the buffer beam detail. Now, at best, all that is going to come in a detail bag. That's not going to be pre-fitted because that's going to mean the coupling system is utterly ineffective. It's bound to be snared by that. But they've done the work for it. So if that comes in the detailing bag, those who wish to operate that and use it that way, they will certainly benefit from it. And who knows how much of it they'll manage to make work with these TT120 style couplings. It'll be interesting to see also if they include, as they have done with some of their coaches recently, any magnetic couplings at this scale. So these are all things that obviously you're looking at, working at, considering, and I think it's an exciting update. Even though it's light on text, to me, the images are definitely worth 1,000 words, as the old saying goes. Underframe detail, again, like you even just get some idea, a little hint of the mechanism. There's clearly drive going to all axles. So you've got 6 axles driven, again, as is the Class 50. And you would have expected that, but this confirms that really, I think, for us. It gives you that little bit more detail on the front buffer beam detail. Again, you've got this snowplow come valance. Is that simply showing both options of the snowplow fitted and the alternative option, which is the green coupling, or are they going to do that as a combined unit? Are these going to be molded together so one can be put in with the next one? Don't know. But again, it looks very good, and we wait to see exactly how they manage to pull that off. Then we've got this cutaway showing the cab detail. Also, you've got the detail at the very front end. You've got the headboard. You've got the separately fitted wire details. You've got the air horns on top. You've got separate fitted wipers. You've got the grills, which it's only CAD just now, but are they going to be etched? Certainly you would like to think that the top one will be, but great to see a side one etched as well. And you've got the cab detail. Now, there is no way that without magnification, any of us realistically will be able to notice that cab detail as the loco's in motion going past us on any layout. But the fact that they've modelled it in CAD indicates at least an option for them to produce in tooling. Now, whether they'll decide that that is worth tooling up, who knows? But I suspect some of that detail will certainly make it through to tooling. I'd be surprised if the seats went there. I'd be surprised if some of the back design is not incorporated. Whether all of that makes it through to tooling. I wonder what the purpose would be of bringing in this top items here. Would you see that? You'd really have to be peering in a peculiar way to be able to notice that. But at the same time, knowing it's there, that's also quite appealing. I'm assuming this green item here is in fact housing for an LED, and that there'll be cab lighting, which there has been on the 50. So I don't think the 37 is going to have less than the 50. And again, that's great to see. We're starting to expect these things, but isn't it amazing that we are starting to expect that level of finesse at TT120 scale? Well done, Hornby. So there's lots of work being done. The 37s are looking fabulous, but they weren't done there. They wanted just to give us a little bit of a hint even of this. So the 31 is not as far advanced as the 37, but that doesn't look bad to me. If that was released tomorrow in exactly that level of detail, I probably wouldn't be complaining. If you put it right next to a 50 or a brand new 37, you might be able to make a difference and spot the problems, but there's obviously work going on there, and they're busy, and it's great to see them engaging with their base by putting these things on their blog, and well done to Hornby for that. So we certainly, I wish I could say, and the pre-order links are available in the description below, and off you go and get these things pre-ordered. Sadly, no. There are no pre-orders available for either of these models yet. They probably won't be that far away, but you know, they'll be ready when they're ready. I'm sure when they're available, believe me, I'll be posting them up on my channel as soon as I possibly can. So do subscribe if you want early notification of when these things are available. I'll have it up within hours at the most, I suspect, would be the intention of when they're available. So get subscribed and see what comes. Now, we're not quite done, and for those who wish to pause here and end the video, no hard feelings in the least. I hope you've enjoyed what you've heard so far and seen. This is indulging myself a little bit further now if I just try and move on to no, not that way. Not that way. There we go. I now have a catalog. I say catalog. I have an A4 sheet of stuff. All the stuff that I have 3D printed and sold. It's stuff I 3D designed for myself because I wanted it in my wagons or whatever it might be, and I've made it available. I've done that mostly through eBay, some through direct sales. So the prices here I'm giving you are eBay prices. That's deliberate because that's there for the maximum. For those who take the time to email me directly, I can usually find a reasonable discount for that because eBay add obviously their own fees on top. For those who much prefer the security of buying through eBay, I totally understand that. That's not a problem at all, and I will be posting stuff on eBay from time to time. But I thought for those who want to see it, here's a look at what else is available from Mac Trade's sales catalogue. First of all, the 21 tons. So coal loads, 3 coal loads for a £5. Sand coal loads, they're £6.50, so 50 pence more per coal load because there's a lot more man hours required. The coal loads, I can design it, set the printer going, but then the sand load requires then me to actually get involved and do more particular things. Then 7 plank loads, which is where I started. These work with the Pico wagons, they work with the Hornby wagons. There's a £5 for 4. They also come, the 7 plank ones come with a base to lift up the coal load so that it looks like a fuller load, or if you remove the base, it looks like a lower load. That gives you a bit of variation. Again, 7 plank sand loads, they likewise are 50 pence more per item. So for a batch of 4, which is how I sell them, they're £7. Hoppers, they're the newest versions. They come in packs of 3 and they're £4 a pack. if you have the red framed hoppers which have the hoods on, to install these you'd have to break the glue seal for the hood from the main hopper body, and then insert the coal load and then reapply the hood. That, I'm afraid, is at your own risk. I managed to do it on mine without any difficulty at all. It can be very easily. But if you have the yellow frame, there's no hood. They just slot straight in. They sit in very nicely into the hoppers, if I do say so myself. Then I've got an uncoupling tool. This has been around again. Something I wanted to do for quite some time just for myself. It's been around a while. It works. You slot it in away from yourself, behind the train you're trying to uncouple, 2 wagons or more. And because it's white, deliberately, there's a nice contrast there. Eyes can see where it's going, and it sits in there beautifully. It's perfectly balanced. It'll gently lift up the hooks, and you can then just ease your loco and whatever other rolling stock you're uncoupling away from the piece that is remaining. Work well, 2 in a pack for a couple of quid. And then back to back gauge. Again, this is something that I've seen recommended from a great number of folks, and thanks to those who do this on the forums. The Hornby forums are brilliant. If you don't frequent them, please do. And I didn't really understand the concept of back-to-back, and I looked at it and thought, fine. So I printed some of these off, and they do help the running characteristics of some of the rolling stock. Not all. It's not a magic fix. But if you're having some issues, certainly check the back-to-back. And these come in a pack of 2. One slightly smaller, one slightly wider. And that's just to allow for some of the variation of tolerance of 3D printing. It's not as fine as getting a brass one, but they're very effective. They do what they're meant to do. And you can put the small one in first, see if that opens out the gauging enough for you. If it doesn't, you can use the next size up one, and that gives you some scope and options. So these are all for TT. Things that are less direct for different scales. I've also got power bank dummies. The Hornby HM7000 power bank is a great piece of kit, but it's big and lumpy, and trying to fit it somewhere in a TT120 loco is not easy. So rather than spend the money on that and find it won't fit, but you can't get it to fit, the only things that it'll fit in properly and without any alterations are the Class 43s, HSTs. And Pitchy showed that on his channel recently. It's worth watching. The DCC Concepts version is certainly less bulk, but surprisingly not that much easier to fit in. So I've done basic dummies for both of these products. This allows you to play around your heart's content to see if you can get them to fit, and if you're willing to take that leap, as it were, to make any alterations necessary to get them to fit or not. And at worst, then you waste a couple of quid rather than spending on a more expensive item. And then last but not least, which you saw at the start of the video, the personalised station signs. So again, these are not hard to print off. They're not using a lot of plastic, but because they're personalised, they're £4 for 2. And we can do pretty much anything you need to do. And although I've scaled them up for TT so far, there'd be nothing to stop me doing for other scales. I wanted that done. I haven't tried it N. I think it would just about manage it. Again, it's not a high-end 3D printer I have, but I would check that first for anyone who wants to order an N. But higher up than that, I have no doubt that the printer will manage fine because it manages with TT. So there we are. And as I mentioned, there's a discount for the next sales. I've put in here 10%. It'll be at least 10% discount, but get in touch. I don't want to say be more. I'd rather under promise, but assume if it's direct sales a 10% discount, and then because it's just lightweight stuff, it's usually £2.50 for postage and packaging. It frustrates me at times because it's just usually too thick to class as a letter, so it has to go as a large letter. So I'm afraid it's £2.50 for postage and packaging, but I hope that seems reasonable. And that's all she wrote. So there we are. These things are moving on in the old TT world. Do please subscribe. Love your comments to keep coming as well. Sorry I've been absent and radio silence for a few weeks, but we're getting back into it now. And I hope you're all having a good summer. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.